maybe you should. No, I've got to get pizzas to that observatory over there. And so you get attacked by some like smoke monster, and you like the pizzas fall off, and you're like scrambling around, like, oh no, somebody needs the pepperoni.
So I'm swimming through 30-weight motor oil.
Why are these new additions to your game that your intention was to release this fall? What are you doing?
Their primary focus should be surviving litigation.
Someone take his phone. I'll do it. Just give me a key card and a red button that turns off Randy's Wi-Fi.
It pisses me off that they lump racing in with sports. Then you look at this, insert F-bomb, Mario Kart and Sonic Racing lumped in with F125.
An aimless rant. We were just angry.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
What's up, everybody? We are live. It is episode 51 of the Hardcore Casual Broadcast. He is Jay of F1 Podcast fame. I am Mason of Online Infamy, and we are the conversation at the table behind you. Wow, it has been quite a week, and it is turning into quite the evening. We were both feeling relatively okay compared to how we are feeling at this very moment, where we've started hacking up lungs on both ends of this conversation.
Yeah, I'm blaming it on you. I was doing fine, and then I think it's a lot like when you yawn. I think it's contagious.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I have been a bit out of the loop. Thank goodness. Jay has been paying attention to the news very closely this week. I've been out. We had a bit of an emergency involving the flu. There was hospitalizations. I was not hospitalized. I'm okay, but I almost certainly have some degree of flu type A. So be careful, guys. The flu's out there. It'll get you, and it's bad this year.
Yeah, it is.
Excuse me. So I'm gonna have to try to be diligent about that cough button as well. But I don't know. But Jay, before we get into anything, how's everything going for you this week?
Well, we're back to normal on the old job front, so it's a little more peaceful. I think you can tell from my countenance that I feel brighter, even though I dealt with just this nasty, debilitating cough for like 2 weeks. Feeling
and
much
you're gonna
better
blame it
this
on
evening.
me. Now you're saying you had it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but then I got rid of it, and then I came on this show tonight, and you have reinvigorated said cough. But other than that, some decent news this week. I think we'll have some fun conversations tonight, maybe some debates.
And as usual, some of that news is hinted in Jay's backdrop there.
Yeah, there was a war that was started this past week, and I'll get to that later, but it does involve what you see behind me and dying on hills.
I guess to steal someone else's phrase, while it is a war that has been raging, you did not start the fire.
Correct. That is correct. I did not start the fire.
It has been burning since not quite since the world's been turning, but when did the first Final Fantasy come out?
Man, dude.
As an aside, that a long time ago. I mean, was it like Super Nintendo era or not quite that far back?
No, it was NES Famicom. It actually came out in Japan. The first 3 came out in Japan and did not come out in the U.S. for a few years. And then they numbered them wrong when they came out in the U.S. and have since went back and fixed it so that there's continuity across the board. But it is a heated topic as of late, and we're going to tell you why tonight when we get to that part of the program.
All right. Well, as you have been able to pay far closer attention than I have. I've been too busy catching flu type A in hospitals. So where would you like to start? Do you want to start on one of your news items, or?
Yeah, since we're going to do games first here, I'm going to start with a heavy hitter just right out of the gate so we can tear the Band-Aid off. You and I both love the Witcher series. I love the Netflix TV series more than you do.
It was a very good first couple seasons. The first season was amazing. Second season, they couldn't quite meet up. Third season was a lame duck, and that's where they ended, right? They didn't make anything after that, right?
No.
Right?
No. Yes. So anyway, the books are always going to be my favorite because I felt like the stories in the books were just incredibly robust and character filled. But talking about The Witcher tonight, specifically The Witcher 3, which we've both played ad nauseum, and the rumor on the mill this week is that there is new DLC coming to Witcher 3. Who hasn't seen a DLC since 2016's Blood and Wine, which was excellent, by the way.
Which also feels crazy because, we've had The Witcher 3 over 10 years.
Yeah.
That seems nuts.
Yeah, it's totally nuts, but oddly enough, seems like there might be some purpose behind this one. CD Projekt Red did not hit some of their financial targets this year, which apparently is causing some employees to possibly not get their incentives. So they're literally creating this DLC. This is a financial incentive-driven DLC.
Now, is that confirmed, or is that just part of the rumor?
That's
Well, I guess since they
part of the
haven't
rumor.
officially confirmed the DLC, it's all kind of rumor, right?
Yeah, but considering the source, so this is out of IGN Poland, and then Poland UPN, which is like their main news network. So I'm thinking this is probably true.
Well, I'm all for it. Are there any leaks regarding these rumors? Are there any leaks? I did see one thing where I saw a headline and I tried to read a little bit of it. I didn't really get very far. What I could see is one of the speculations was that it's to bridge the gap between where 3 ends and the last DLC of 3 ends and 4. Do we know anything other than that as far as setting, story, even characters? Are we still Geralt?
Well, I'm assuming we are, but the rumor is that this is taking place in an exotic desert region, and if you're a lore nerd, then you know there's only one exotic desert region in all of the continent, which is Zerrikania. So we might get to see that often rumored and brought up the Witcher Manticore School. So, folks out there that ends up watching this or whatever, listening, I don't know what school was your favorite: wolf, bear, ursine, whatever, cat, viper, whatever was your favorite. But the Manticore School originates in Zerrikania, so that could bring up a whole new set of weapons and armor sets, which would
I was about to say cool armor sets, cool gear, yeah.
Especially if it's Manticore related. And then obviously getting to fight Manticores, and then some of the monsters and stuff that originate that are indigenous to that area, of course. So that'll be a really cool. They're also talking about that this is a 2026 release, and possibly by the spring.
Well, okay. So how does this track then? All right, so if it is truly to make up for lost sales or goals that you didn't hit, that would have had to have been goals that weren't hit a long time ago to have gotten to a point where they're going to hit in 2026.
Yeah, and obviously I don't know how their pay system and payroll works or what those are, if it based on the fiscal year or what their fiscal year, which one they use. But yeah, apparently it's to make up for those lost incentives. So I'm okay with that though.
Yeah, same. And I do want to stress that even if this is true, as far it sounds like the DLC is almost certainly confirmed. Yeah. But as far as the reason behind it, I just want to stress that if one of those motivations is because of not hitting a goal and all this, I don't want people to read that as CD Projekt Red is in trouble. They're not. CD Projekt Red is just fine. If that is true, that they did miss a goal, it's because the goal was outlandish because of their previous insane sales that they had been doing where they were making money hand over fist all those other years. So don't worry about CD Projekt Red, regardless of whether that aspect is accurate or not, because even if it's accurate, they are one of the most profitable liquid funds of any of the studios out there. So no worries. I feel
like if we're talking about the holy trinity of game related money printers, you've got Rockstar, and then you've probably got Valve, and then probably CD Projekt Red, probably,
and Bethesda
right there. Yeah, Bethesda, of course.
That would be the Rushmore of just bathing in money studios when it comes to gaming.
Absolutely. But anyway, man, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be really cool to go to Zerrikania. Not a huge fan of desert settings, but if they do it right, I think it could be pretty awesome.
So, I have read some of the books. I haven't read all of the books, and it's been a minute since I read even the books that I have. So, whenever we're talking about Zerrikania, is that how you say it?
Zerrikania.
Zerrikania. Okay, so all right, so we got the setting as a desert, whatever. So, what are some of the other big, sort of iconic things that they would have to include? Like, if they're going to be there, we got to see this. Like, what's some stuff that could set it apart from some of the other things that we've already seen within the game?
Well, Zerrikania had a famed army for one thing, so we could potentially see, and I'm obviously this is just straight up.
Yeah, we're even out of rumor territory. We are now in pure speculation territory here now, guys. Just to be clear.
Almost coughed there. So I think it would be cool if they inserted Geralt where there's already a war going on, because that would be cool to see the Zerrikanian cavalry, and their artillery pieces and all that. And that would be neat if it was like, you remember in Skyrim when you had to get involved in the Civil War? I think it'd be cool if they did that with The Witcher. So that would be interesting. And then, of course, from a monster standpoint, the Manticore being the biggest one. And I don't remember the name of that creature, but you remember the episode of the show where, what's her name? Oh God, man, I'm having one of those nights.
Was the redhead or the okay?
When Yennefer had the baby and she kept going through the portals, and at one point she ended up in the desert. She was being chased by this like crab scorpion looking creature. That was a Zerrikanian monster. So I have a feeling that'll be like one of your baseline monsters there. And then there's still some of the ones from the regular part of The Witcher, the Kikimarus and all that stuff, vampires and whatnot. But it's going to be it should be a lot like Dorne from Game of Thrones, that type of situation.
Okay, that'd be
Oasis, awesome. Where you have the Oasis kingdoms and like that. So I'm pretty interested. I like speculating, but I also don't, because it's like one of those things where I don't even want to get my own hopes up.
Well, I will say though that regardless, if they do a DLC, we know that it's going to be meaty. They're not just going to throw out like here's a 6-hour side thing. I mean, it's going to be essentially a self-contained. Like Blood and Wine was something like, was it 15 hours, 20?
Oh, dude, I mean,
it was a
I'm
lot.
still playing around in there when I get on there. So yeah.
So all right. Well, I guess we'll see. Time will tell. If it's going to release in 2026, which we're obviously now in. I wonder if they'll just sort of like phantom drop it or kind of announce it. But this news cycle is going to help them, rev that hype engine up. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add to that one?
Nope. That was it for that one.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and jump in here with one because I'm curious your thoughts on this one. So, here at Hardcore Casual, our most anticipated game of 2026, not the winner of the prestigious Game Awards, the Keeley for the most anticipated game, which is obviously GTA 6, but for us, it is 007 First Light. We have been following that at every turn that we could, every little morsel of information that we could get, we went for it. And there is new. Now we're at the phase where real news has started to kind of like slow down, especially given that they had to delay. So now the sort of like pace that they had prepared to set now has to be moved over a little bit. So we've got this void that they didn't really expect to have. So they don't have anything planned right now to keep that hype going. So right now what we're doing is we're just like getting these little sound bites from interviews that people are doing, people involved with the game. And we are making mountains out of molehills. So we have an interview with some publication called Monster Vine. And so, which I've never heard of before. Okay, so keep this in mind as we go into this here. So I'm going to show the headline that we've got here. So Here we go. We have 007 Reboot's latest update is sure to anger old school James Bond fans. And then it has the quote, he's a modern guy. Obviously, wanting to fuel some rage bait here as people are every time something like, modern day, it just has a really negative connotation here. So it kind of goes in here. We get this whole thing, but then we get into the meat of it. So here we go. Monster Vine and Martin Imborg, who's the narrative and cinematic director for 007 First Light, had this little blurb here. So he said that, it's not going to be your old school James Bond. He was asked specifically if the new 007 will display womanizer tendencies. And Imborg said, yeah, you will. But obviously, as they were saying on stage before, the character Bond has evolved. So he's evolved through the decades, and obviously we reflect modern values. So it's not going to be your old school James Bond, which would just be tone deaf in this day, right? He's a modern guy. So that's what they have sort of built this around, and then we have obviously some speculation here. I don't really care about the rest of this guy's thing. That's the soundbite. That's the soundbite that we're working on, and so they're now equating this where they say like, oh, he's a modern guy. It's not going to be your old school James Bond. They're now saying, oh, and obviously trying to drive it towards one direction. So before I kind of go into my thoughts on that, Jay, what are your thoughts on this, especially given that this entire article is based off of that one small quote?
Well, I am an old school Bond guy and fan. Do I agree with everything that James Bond did in the movies? No. They often show this clip of Sean Connery smacking the crap out of a Bond girl in one of the movies, and they use that as like their linchpin on how James Bond needs to change and how none of that would be able to be filmed nowadays, and they're not wrong. I think there's a way to do it and not destroy the legacy of James Bond, because men have not changed that much in the years. Yeah, maybe we're not, doing the smacking or whatever, but the flirting,
I would hope not,
and the seduction, and I don't see where that is going to be a huge. I mean, he's an agent, right? And that's part of their deal. That's what they do. So I don't know what this guy's angle is on this statement or what he was going for, but I think you're right, though. I think he was trying to start some crap.
So so this Jonathan Fugue is the guy that wrote this with MovieWeb.com. He's the one that wrote up this article off of this one blurb. Now I haven't had a chance to go and read the full context of this quote because of the said adventures in hospitals over the week, but I think there's a couple of things to keep in mind here. One is that this is the same company that makes the Hitman games. Yeah. Keep in mind, we have a record, a lineage of what they do and how they handle these things. They make the Hitman games. These are not some, like uber prudes that are afraid of violence or harsh language or even just I mean, we've seen people crushed with pianos. We've seen people burned in effigy. We've seen people basically burned alive inside of a statue. I mean, we've had all this stuff. So I don't think that this is like this article makes it out to be like, oh, they're going to change the entire complexion, personality of James Bond to fit with these modern values, and I don't think that's what it is. Also, keep in mind that English is the second language for these people. I don't know if this was in their language, and then I don't remember where they're located, but IO, where is I? It's not Poland, but it's in that area of the world, yeah, so I don't know if it was in a different language and then translated to English, or as he was saying, if he was speaking in English for this. But either way, there could be some sort of lost in translation situation going on here. For one, did you find it? Huh?
Yeah, they're in Copenhagen, Denmark.
There we go. So there could be a little bit of loss in translation here, and like maybe
Right.
this word, whatever. So whenever he says like, "Oh, modern values, this and that," so again, these are the guys that make Hitman, and this is a thing that has been brought up an issue, and we've actually talked about it on the show before. And I think that might be what he's actually referencing here, and that is the fact that James Bond is in a modern setting. I think that is more what he is referencing than anything else. I think obviously, like you said, we're not going to see James Bond smacking women around because you want to be the hero, and that's not a hero. You can't have a hero that's like being abusive and things like that. So that's what I think that's that's just a no-brainer. I mean, that even Agent 47 wouldn't do something like that, So yeah, I think that is a thing that was going to be that way no matter what. I don't think that's changing anything. Everything moves that way where they're not going to be an abusive dick.
And if anything, and this is where you wouldn't want to reference the Ian Fleming books, but the movies. We've had 6 decades of these movies, and he has evolved.
Yes.
Sean Connery's Bond is completely different from Pierce Brosnan's Bond, who's even completely different from, once removed, Daniel Craig's Bond. And they did show an evolution, but they maintained the Bond legacy, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Like he has a personality and it kind of shape shifts with the modern times. And so that's what we had talked about before, where they had already taken some flack with people saying like, well, why is it set in the 50s or the 60s or the 70s? And they're like, well, because we made it today. And all the movies were set in the time that they were made. So they were just kind of going along with, hey, we're doing a Bond story in the time that makes sense because that's the time that we're in. So I think that is really what he was referencing more than anything, is just the fact that it will be modern because they've already had to defend that choice, which I thought was dumb that they had to defend that choice because it just made sense. So while a lot of people are getting bent out of shape about this, I really don't think that that's the case. Again, we're in a news deficit right now for 007 since, like I said, since they have to change all of their marketing plans and offset them by a couple of months, so because now they're going to be releasing in May instead, and so I think a lot's just being made out of this. Where again, this is an interview based off of Monster Vine. If this was going to be a big part of the game, if it really was that they were going to change all this stuff, it would have been all over the place. It would have been more interviews. And again, these guys have gone out of their way to be so dedicated to what James Bond is. They paid for licensing for the stuff that you cannot get away from James Bond's. They have the cars, they have the Omega watches, they have the handguns, they have all this, and even the scar that you see on James Bond's cheek in the trailers and all that stuff that you've seen, that is based off of a painting that Ian Fleming himself had commissioned based off of his vision of Bond. Obviously, they made they used an actor to do that, but they put that scar on there to pay tribute to Ian Fleming's vision of Bond. So this is one of those where I show it, but I really don't think that they're going to go and do this big change that everybody is fearing. I think it's going to be stuff that we would not have I think the stuff that they will not include is the stuff that we would not have expected them to include anyway, is what I'm saying. You have anything else you want to add to it?
I don't, man. I think you nailed it with most of that, and just the fact that, I mean, as long as he doesn't order a gluten-free martini, dude, I'm good.
Right? Yeah. If
they're talking about the modern man, then yeah, I might have some issues with that. But yeah, but other than that, I mean, I'm going to play it, and I think it's going to be stellar. And
absolutely, I'm still looking forward to it.
I don't think there is another development house that could have handled it better.
I agree with that.
They built the framework. They have the backbone for it, and I think we're in for a treat when this thing finally releases.
Yeah, and let's not forget they fought for it. They wanted that license. They wanted to make a Bond game, and the people behind Bond wanted them to do it. So yeah, I think we're gonna get what we want. Given the change in tone, they're gonna have driving for the first time, which you don't have driving in Hitman, and all this stuff. They're gonna be doing a lot of things that they that this will be their first time out in. So you know what? They might not knock all those different aspects out of the park, but I don't think that the story or the tone, I don't think any of that is going to be the issue. If there are any that come across with this game. So I still, despite the rage bait, I'm not too worried about the state of 007 First Light right now.
Still, man, great topic. Good bring up on that one.
Yeah. What about you? What else you got on your list coming up next in the world of games?
Well, Windows Central released a report this week. Basically, so this isn't a rumor, detailing the Fallout New Vegas remake, which is supposed to be happening in tandem with a Fallout 3 remake. Now, one of the rumors is that Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas remakes will be basically bundled together as one game, where you could just basically do one story and morph right into the second story. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I think it's probably going to be more of one of those where you get to the main menu, like Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and you play one and then you have to pick the next one to play.
Right.
But I think it's more important that it is at least definitive from Windows Central that it is coming out. It is something that's being worked on. The other thing that gives some positivity to this is when Todd Howard was cornered at the Game Awards, and they're like, what about the Fallout remake? And he said, well, of all the things we're working on right now, we're working on Fallout the most. And some people speculate, well, that's the TV show. Well, the TV show had already finished up production and post-production. And I mean, and they're still working on content for 76, but if you're saying that that's the majority of the stuff you're working on, then it's got to be that. So,
well, that is a classic, what we would call a non-denial. If you are asked blatantly about hey, what do you say about X? And you go out of your way to say nothing particularly about X. Just like, hey, you don't confirm it, but you also don't deny it. So I think that is definitely smoke whenever we're talking about that. And I would say if you're, speaking of smoke, if you're going to start a fire, that's probably a good place to start, because that's where there is a lot of kindling there. I mean, New Vegas has the reputation and has maintained this reputation, and I see no sign of it losing that reputation anytime soon, of being the best Fallout that has ever been. So we've seen what they've done with Skyrim. I mean, again, they just released Skyrim literally like less than a month ago on Nintendo Switch 2. They'd already released it on Nintendo Switch. Now they have the Nintendo Switch 2 edition that they launched less than a month ago, or maybe it was just before Thanksgiving, but within the holiday season for $60. So if you think that they will not remake this game that people have been clamoring for, I mean, come on. That is easy money. Easy money.
Not to mention, and I'm not a Nintendo guy, obviously, but I'd be excited if I was a Switch 2 player right now, because if you got Skyrim, you're probably going to at least get Fallout 4. If not, and I'm assuming it's not on the Switch 2 right now.
I don't have it pulled. I don't have anything pulled up right now. I don't think so. I can't swear to it. Don't quote me.
Being able to play Fallout on your Switch would be, if you're a Switch person, that would be awesome too. And should be easy
to do that on the go. Plus, I'm a bit behind, so no spoilers because I don't have any, guys. But I know Jay's caught up. But with the current season of the Fallout show, it's revolving around New Vegas. So that it just seems like too much of a synergy to turn down. Which also makes me wonder. I don't know. Is there any information in what you've read that would indicate or even just speculate how far along into the process they are?
No, nothing from that report other than, because there was other games that were being mentioned that were being remade. There's a Warcraft mobile game that they're working on, and there is a Wolfenstein 3 that they're working on. Those were the three things that were mentioned. So I think that kind of pigeonholed them into not being able to go into detail on any of them. So anyway, yeah.
Is Machine Games the one going to be doing Wolfenstein 3?
Yes, I didn't. I've never. I know. Try not to smack me through your time. Never played a Wolfenstein game.
The new ones, or period? Any of them ever?
None. So
That is shocking.
Here's what you got to realize. Much like the Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera argument from many weeks ago.
You were fighting with ghosts on that one. I don't have a dog in that fight, sir.
When my age group was invading college PC labs to play Doom, when Doom came out with John Carmack and those guys, there was loyalty that was involved. You had to earn your stripes, and so you were either a Doom guy, or you were a Wolfenstein guy, or you were a Quake guy. And I mean, I secretly betrayed Doom to play Quake, but I never betrayed Doom to play Wolfenstein. And you know,
I am shocked.
gamers have changed now. Now everybody plays everything, so it's even I do. But it's
As soon as you said that, it made me wonder. And I know, crazy for hardcore casual, right? A little bit of a potential side tangent here, because it's true what you said. Where it was very much about sides back in the day.
Yes.
So okay, so you got Wolfenstein, you got Doom. Okay, you got Pearl Jam, Nirvana. You got Star Wars, Star Trek. It was very much these territories, and you're like, no, we will not be seen. And that doesn't seem to. Is there anything that's kind of like that nowadays? Like, nothing
don't
comes
think
to
so.
mind.
And I'm happy that these generations are crossing the streams, if you will. Like, we also had Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and ne'er the two shall meet. I was a Resident Evil guy, so I've never been a Silent Hill person ever. So,
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Resident Evil was hands down the superior of those two games. It wasn't. I didn't.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it wasn't that I fell off of Silent Hill because I was like so densely loyal to Resident Evil. It's just they just didn't. It wasn't there. It was the quality took a pretty significant dip at a point. So yeah, but there's not a lot of that territorialized thing anymore. I guess aside from just the console versus PC master race, which even that I think is.
Yeah.
I think now it's really done in jest more than I think there's. I mean, I've talked to some in our comments. There's some that really still they're still fighting that war. They're still throwing punches at ghosts, but I think for the most part, it's just all kind of that way. I mean, I'm a nerd. I like all things sci-fi. I enjoy Star Trek. I enjoy Star Wars. I enjoy all these different things. So I don't think, I don't think that there's a whole lot of that territorial stuff going on. Even anime. That used to be a thing. There were people that loved anime and then people that didn't get it. But even now, there's people that love anime and there's people that don't get it. But the people that don't get it don't think that the people that like anime are. I don't know. It just seems to be less contentious.
Yeah, true, and I think you're right. But yeah, man, I never played Wolfenstein, so I didn't. But
we gotta
when
fix that,
reading
man.
the article, it was Machine Games, so I do remember seeing that in the article.
Obviously, back then, the story was not really a thing whenever it came to Doom or Wolfenstein. So
Yeah.
and they looked. I mean, if current gamers, if you look at the old school like the Doom, and they are. I mean, almost carbon copies of one another.
Yeah.
I mean, even down to the little dude in the middle of the screen that's indicating, your life, like how beat up your main character is. I mean, it is straight up like I mean, I don't know which one came first, but somebody stole the other person's homework. But
Wolfenstein came first,
so
barely.
Yeah, so that's.
But even
that's
the sound effects, it's like you shoot the shotgun. It's like brr, oh, and it was the same on all three. So
yeah, well, I would definitely say Machine Games. Obviously, Machine Games most recently did the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So, and certainly these two are very different in the way that they play between the Indiana Jones games and the Wolfenstein games. However, the Wolfenstein games are a lot of fun, and you do get to do some things that you wouldn't really expect to do in first person. So much like whenever I was proven wrong, because whenever I first saw the trailers of the Indiana Jones games, I was like, I don't know, it seems like, how's this going to work in first person? If I want to play an Indiana Jones game, I'd like to see Indiana Jones. but you do a lot of stuff that you wouldn't expect, and in the same vein as far as that goes. They go places that you, at least at that time, had not seen first person shooters go.
But yeah, either way, man, I'm looking forward to Fallout 3 and New Vegas, and I'll probably add the newest, whatever the most recent Wolfenstein, because when you highly recommend something, I try to test it out. I think it's fair amongst us. I tried out the Mad Max game, and you were absolutely right.
Oh, you did?
I did, and you were absolutely right.
Oh,
and
did you finish it?
But no, man. So
Okay.
I'm about an hour and a half in, and it's like one of those things where I need to devote some time. I need to devote some time to this. This needs to be not a set and try. This needs to be a veg out.
Well,
So-
I did not plan this, but when did you start the Mad Max thing? I did not know that we did that
I
months
sent
ago.
you a
We talked
screenshot
about it.
of it being it was on sale for like $2.99.
So
And
recently,
So, yeah. So, yeah.
makes me so
Anyway.
happy. That makes me so, because guys, if you have not played the Mad Max game, highly suggest you go and do it.
Yes.
It still holds up. It was a previous gen release. It still looks great on current gen consoles. It was phenomenal. It did not get the respect that it deserved. It kind of bombed. So a sequel is highly unlikely. But man, I wish
I
they
think
would
we
do
talked
it.
about this before
We
too.
did.
I think it came out surrounded by some big hitters. I think that's what happened.
And it
and
also it had delays that meant that it didn't get to release alongside. Well, either it had a delay or Mad Max Fury Road. I can't remember which one had the delay,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, there was a delay that meant that it did not get to release simultaneously with Fury Road, which was the initial plan.
which would have helped it for sure. But
For sure.
yeah.
Okay. The next thing that I had on my list is that there has been a new discovery for mysteries in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now
Every week.
we know that Rockstar loves these little mysteries that we have, and they've had mysteries in their games forever. One of the big things that there's been aliens has always been a big thing. What's the name of that mountain in GTA 5? Mount
Chiliad.
Chiliad,
Mount
yeah.
Chiliad.
Where we've got these cave paintings and carvings and all this stuff, and then there's all you see the aliens, and then even in the Red Dead games, they've done things with aliens. In Red Dead Redemption 2, there's a vampire that you can hunt down, and there's a whole thing around that. There's a thing where you're basically chasing the devil, and his whole thing. So there's all these things in there for a long history of their games. They've had these mysteries and stuff like that. There's even time travelers. There's all kinds of stuff in these games. If you Red Dead Redemption 2 has a time traveler. So there's so much here that they throw in there that most people will miss. Well, there's a new one that all of us missed. And we have not solved at least as of this recording, January 8th, there has not been a solution figured to what is going on here. So basically, they had taken down some of the pictures here. I don't know why, but essentially what's going on is it was noticed that there were, on some telegraph poles in the game, for an 8-hour span overnight, so the 8 overnight hours within the game, there are 8 telegraph poles, and one of those poles each hour, for 1 hour, will have a spider web on it. So there's like a spider web. It looks kind of like a metal spider web, just like a half circle spider web that just goes across it. And so for each of these 8, for 1 hour, so that 8 hours is divided into, these different, so one of those for each hour will show up. So for 1 hour, this telegraph will have a cobweb. For another hour, this telegraph will have a telegraph pole will have a cobweb. Those cobwebs have a feather. You can shoot the feather off the cobweb. It'll drop, and you can pick it up. Then you can do all this, and then essentially get directed to another telegraph pole that has like an N that says to go north. So then you go north, and that gets you to another cobweb that has other symbols. So basically, this all goes to the point where where I believe that we're currently stuck at, unless anyone else has any updates. If you do, please share, and we'll definitely be following the story. But it eventually gets you to a spider web that has the symbol of a guitar. So everyone is currently trying to find out what's going on with this guitar. So people are going to every location in the game that has a guitar to see if there's some way that they can do something else. So obviously we've got multiple locations. We've got all these different things. It's other aspects of the puzzle have been time of day dependent. Whether or not they'll appear or not. So
but
that's where we are.
Nobody's figured it out yet.
Nobody has figured it out yet.
Interesting.
And it was also confirmed that this has been in the. So some people were speculating that this was some sort of like stealth hype kind of thing to sort of maybe kind of stealth promote some DLC or something that was dropping. But it's been confirmed that this has been in the game since day one. This was just something that has gone unnoticed. I guess in the midst of all these other things, that while they are mysteries, they are easier to find, easier to solve. Things like the alien visitation that you can do, or the mad scientist Frankenstein story that you can do in the game, or the time traveler that you can aid in the game, and all these things that, again, still easy to miss, but far easier to find than this. So I don't know. I'm very interested. Unfortunately, I don't have an end to this because it hasn't been figured out yet. But I'm just interested to see what happens whenever I have that. And also, I gotta give props to Rockstar on this one, where a lot of times you'll have people that will come out and just to kind of like continue to drive hype on their game, they'll be like, hey, there's this one secret and people haven't found it yet. And, try to get... That didn't happen. People hadn't found this, and they just let it go.
Stayed quiet.
Yep, just let it go.
Failed the perception check.
Yeah, they're just like, whatever. But and I'm sure that's because there's probably, especially given that this one's been in there since day one, if I was a betting man, I would say this is probably not even... I'm not saying that they're big or anything like that, but I bet there's some mysteries that we have missed. That like this is probably not the only one that has escaped notice.
I'm sure.
But now this
the game's
has
world is too massive.
Yeah, but now this has a lot of people focusing in to solve this one mystery, and I'm excited to see where they go with it. But I love Red Dead, and yeah, we'll see. So we got a new mystery for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. So anybody that has any theories, speculation, any updates, let us know. Do you have any other games news on your list, Jay?
I don't. Just something tiny before we move on to other things. But Owlcat, which, much like James Bond or 007 First Light, The Expanse Osiris Reborn is right there close second on anticipated games. And, last week we talked about... Yeah. Last week we talked about how we don't think they were ready for the hype that they got surrounding this game, and now there's a lot of pressure on them. But one thing they're doing, I think that is smart, is using this hype to promote their other titles. I'm starting to see tons of, and I'm on all their social medias anyway, but of course the algorithms for TikTok and Instagram Reels, Facebook, and Reddit do the same thing. They know what you're interested in. They pull it up. But Owlcat pushing a lot of their other titles. Pathfinder, the Warhammer Rogue Trader, which is an excellent game in its own right. Just almost as good as Baldur's Gate as far as turn-based CRPGs go. And releasing new content for that while we're at it, which is also awesome. So I just... my hat's off to them. I just wanted to send a kudos out to Owlcat and say that's a smart move. using that to promote your stuff, especially when you're a smaller studio.
Yeah, and I mean, why not? Like, you've got more eyes on you now than you have ever had. So
Use
strike
it.
while the iron's hot, for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
I
But
actually
that's all
have-
I had on games.
I actually have two stories that kind of,
Oh.
speaking of crossing streams, they kind of cross streams between games and other media. So there's one here, and I hesitate to show the actual page because I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. And I fear that as soon as we, even evasive though we may be, I fear that it would spoil. So I'm not going to show you the article because of the images that are on it. But I will say there has been, this is not big news, breaking news, not anything like that. It's not a big deal. I just found it interesting. And that was that, so we have the director of Cyberpunk 2 was speaking in an interview, and he was asked about the opinion of a lot of players in Cyberpunk that the first act should have been longer. So let me try to be as spoiler-free as I can be. I will try. So in Cyberpunk, the first act consists of you create your character, select his background. That background impacts your opening missions for the game. You know, whether you're a nomad or a corpo or whatever. So you do that. So that's the start of Act 1, and Act 1 ends at the conclusion of a heist. And there are
Awesome heist, by the way.
an incredible heist, a very
Yeah.
complex
Well
heist,
thought out. Yeah.
which you and I, Jay and I, have talked about it ad nauseum over the 51 episodes of this show, that we love heist movies, and this is one where it feels like you are in a heist movie. So it ends. The Act 1 ends with this heist, and throughout the game, you meet a variety of people, and to establish relationships with. And you know what? At some point within that game, within Act 1, some of these people that you have interacted with, you will experience some level of loss or change in your relationship with them. So the main argument here that people have been saying is that, well, you don't get enough time with the people that you meet to properly establish a relationship or care about them. And all that to say that the response to this, which whenever we were talking about this before, I agreed with your take on it, Jay, it was a pretty good response that the director basically said, no, I don't think that we needed to spend more time in Act 1 because, in his opinion, it would be like saying that we should spend more time on Tatooine with Farmer Luke, where it's like, well, let's not go chasing after Darth Vader just yet. Let's care about Luke and Uncle Owen. Let's stay here for a while. And
He's got to get up there and get those moisture evaporators on the South Rim, man, before midday. I mean, shit.
is some kind of converters or something. I don't remember what he was supposed to do with his friends. Yeah. So I can see this argument from both sides, where it's like, hey, it would be cool. You do get to meet some really cool people, and some of them, not because of any loss or whatever, that you just don't cross paths with them again because that's not where the story goes. And so it would be interesting. It would be fun to spend more time with these people. But on the same side, I think that's a pretty salient point that he makes, where he's like, essentially, Star Wars ain't about Farmer Luke. It's about let's save the world, Luke.
Funny side story, and I didn't bring this up because I just now thought about it. If you ever watched the deleted scenes for Episode 4, or as we call it in my age group, just Star Wars, if you ever watched the deleted scenes, the majority of the scenes that got cut were Farmer Luke. There's a whole conversation with him and Wedge before Wedge left, and then there's him hanging out with his friends, and then, I mean, there's a lot of deleted scenes, and they're all Farmer Luke cuts. So
But one of the scenes that we did keep was we got to see C-3PO take a bath.
yeah,
That was
let's keep
obviously
that one.
very
That's
crucial.
Yeah. So that was very important. But here's my thing, too, and I want to say this. I really love immersive stories, and I love having, friends that you develop lasting relationships with. And I think what's important about that first act is it shows you loss early. And it makes you, and I think the reason people are asking for this is because you spend the next hour going, man, I really would like to have spent more time learning who that was, or, and you don't get to, and that's just like life.
Or
Sometimes
like,
you
man,
meet
this was
people
fun.
and-
What if we got to do more heists or more this or more that?
Right. So I feel like they nailed it. I really do. So
Well, this
anyway.
is one of those things where I also, it's like, okay, like you said, on the one hand, like I would love to do more of these fun missions with the same group of characters that we are kind of introduced to. Yeah, the whole point of Cyberpunk is that it takes you far beyond that. Like you start off as like, you know, you're basically kind of like a low-level thug that's just doing whatever to make money. And, this is your first kind of breath of the big time. And then from there you go off. And so it's like, yeah, like that's our chasing Darth Vader aspect is going off in this direction. We got Johnny Silverhand stuff to do. It's a whole thing. So, I understand that side but I also understand like how it would have been great to be in that moment and spend just a little bit more time with it. But it's one of those things where it's like asking the question, I think kind of shows us that it wasn't necessary, because the argument that they use is that, well, if you gave us more time, then we would more greatly feel the loss of some of these characters that we don't get to see again. However, you are so upset about it that you are currently asking the question and saying, why didn't you give us more of this? You clearly do feel that loss. You want more. So even it's one of those things where you feel unfulfilled, but maybe that's kind of the point. You
It's a
do
catch-22
feel that
wrapped in a
loss.
conundrum.
Yeah. So it's like, just by the sheer thing of you saying like, no, we need more of that. Obviously, you are feeling the loss of that which you no longer have access to.
Yep, absolutely.
And then the last thing that I have, just because this article made me aware that this was a thing, I don't have anything really else beyond that to say here, but Sleeping Dogs is getting a movie, guys. So Simu Liu, Shang-Chi, however you want to pronounce it, that actor that played Shang-Chi is going to be Wei Shin in a Sleeping Dogs movie. Now, this whole thing is saying that a director's been named. I am not going to try to attempt the director's name here. Timo. I'll go with his first name. I feel confident-ish in that one. But he directed Nobody 2. So Bob Odenkirk, Nobody 2. That's the most recent thing. So there we go. That's pretty good. But I just wanted to bring that up to say that they are making a Sleeping Dogs movie, and I am very excited about that. This goes on to kind of talk about Simu Liu and the director and a little bit of the history of Sleeping Dogs. But obviously, we are very familiar with the history of Sleeping Dogs, so we don't need to go into that. But I just wanted to bring up that they are making a Sleeping Dogs movie, and this has been a thing that Jay and I love this game. We have brought it up so many times. It's one of these types of games that you just you don't see anymore unless it's something from like Rockstar or something like that, where it's a stacked cast of voices.
God, yeah.
I mean,
And
people that
I'll
are still
tell you
big deals
something.
now.
I'll
Like
tell
Emma
you something.
Stone.
Rockstar could learn from that game, and maybe they have. But I feel like Sleeping Dogs is more cinematic in its fight choreography.
Oh, sure.
And I just like there was a scene at the very beginning, so I'm not really spoiling. I mean, it's literally at the very beginning.
Yeah, it is the opening.
You're on the second floor of a nightclub, and there's aquariums on the wall all the way around. And then there's a balcony looking over the dance floor. And I start out fighting, and I'm just doing all the hand-to-hand stuff. Well, the fight was near one of the aquariums, and I didn't even know this was going to be a thing, but like I push a combo button, and he grabs the guy and shoves his head into the aquarium, pulls him out, and now the water's all rushing in, and we get washed to the edge of the balcony, and he beats his head on the guardrail and sends him over to the dance floor, and I had to jump down there and fight him. But just the fact that, you know, those things are so intuitive that they just happen. It's like, I felt like I wasn't even in control of my own hands at one point. I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah, and especially
yeah.
at that time that it came out, it was unheard of to have that level of interaction. And it's kind of like if you had the open world of a GTA game, and you had the combat of John Wick, and the set piece moments of a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
So you got glass breaking, you're running over rooftops, and sliding over it's all of that. And it has, like, we did a casualty list on it. It's on our channel if you want to go and look at our kind of talking about it again there, and we kind of discussed some things about it there. But also, we just talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about the Assassin's Creed leaving the paired animation system behind. So the paired animation system that we got in the earlier entries, particularly Black Flag being the one where it sounds like they might be moving away from the paired combat animation stuff from the original Black Flag in this yet to be officially announced remake. But it had a paired animation system. So the things like what Jay is talking about there, where like you're doing something and you're near the aquarium and you just push somebody through it, that's because of the paired animation system. That was one of the reasons that we love it so much, because it's so cinematic, because it's like, it makes you feel like John Wick.
Yeah.
So again, just as a summary, the paired animation system, whenever it comes to combat, is where it's like, okay, this guy is coming at me, I am throwing a punch, he's throwing a kick, and we're doing it near an aquarium. You can put in all of these different things, and they have animation set up for like, hey, when these things all line up, do this animation. And it allows for crazy things like that, where you're interacting with something that you didn't even know that you could interact with, or you're doing things where you're like pulling down shutters on top of people, like at cashier registers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and and it can't be undersold that the street chases where you're just on foot and you're being chased, and you jump over a couple pallets of fish, and you jump through the window of a restaurant, and the guy behind you, and just intuitively your gut reaches up and slams the shutter on the guy, and then you keep running. I was like, what am I doing right now?
Or I remember being in a fight where you go through and you're now in a kitchen of a restaurant. So you're fighting in a kitchen. And I remember throwing a punch, and the guy reaches, like Wei Shin reaches, grabs a cleaver that's next to him on the counter and throws it at a guy and gets him right in the head, because I threw a punch at the right guy that was doing the right thing while I was next to the counter where there was a cleaver. All of these, and something like that happens, and you almost got to pause the game and be like, wow! Like,
Which
that was
I did
awesome.
a lot.
Yeah.
I'd pause it and just go, what did I just now do?
You would interact with things, and you didn't even know that you could interact with them. I remember beating people with frozen fish, like a fish that had its head cut off, and you're like slapping people with this frozen fish that I didn't even know that I could interact with. Or you can fight somebody and they drop a pocket knife. Some of these people would have or a butterfly knife or something like that. They would drop it on the ground, and you could pick it back up and use it. It was oh gosh, I miss it so much.
It was a good game.
And even on this course, it's Forbes, Paul Tassi, which is one of their games journalists. He mentions that it's unlikely that we'll get a sequel, but I keep hoping that we get a sequel, or at least a spiritual successor. And it's just a little piece of my heart is holding out hope that maybe if this movie does well, maybe that will move that needle just a little bit. Because I so desperately want another Sleeping Dogs game.
Yeah, and then I hope right after that they do an Alpha Protocol movie, and then I get an new Alpha Protocol game, or remastered. I'd be fine with that.
So there we go. Those are my bridge topics to go from our games into our movies and other media sections.
Well, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind doing movies before TV.
I don't mind.
And this is not going to be a shock to a lot of people. It's not going to be a shock to you. Although, I think had you known about this, you would have brought this up already. So, Kennedy is officially out. She has been sent to the wall, and now Dave Filoni sets the Iron Throne.
And now her watch has ended.
Her watch has ended.
Okay, so I did
wish
see
we
a
had
headline.
I wish we had some kind of, confetti storm we could do on the screen right now, but yes.
Or flames coming up from the bottom. So I did see the headline that Dave Filoni was officially named as one of the people taking over, but I didn't know that that's not effective immediately. It will be this year, but it's not effective right now yet, is it? Or is it?
No, it's official. She's
Well,
out.
I know it's official that they have announced that he will be, but she has not stepped down yet. She will step down later this year, right?
Not from what I read.
Oh, well. Now, granted, I have mentioned before that obviously she needs to go. She has made a multi-million-dollar franchise out of a multi-billion-dollar franchise. She has murdered Star Wars, and she has ruined so many aspects of Star Wars, as well as other properties, Indiana Jones, Willow, anything that she has touched at Lucasfilm, she has sullied it. She has soiled its legacy. And so I definitely want her gone. And Dave Filoni has done some really great things. However, one thing that I do fear, and we've mentioned this before on the show, we've talked about it, and that is that Dave Filoni is an idea guy. He is a great idea guy, but he's not great at filtering out all those ideas. He's not great at being like, you know what? Let's not do that one. Let's do this one, or let's do this one, but tweak this. He very much has this whole thing. So I really wanted.
So you're saying he throws the whole pot of pasta at the wall instead of just one noodle.
Yeah. He's like, well, let's not have a plate of pasta. Let's have pasta. Let's have macaroni. Let's do some ravioli. And then some people are like, hey, my ravioli is undercooked, and somebody's like, well, hey, my macaroni's overcooked. Like, hey, you didn't even get sauce on this one. And he's like, well, I mean, we're doing so much. What do you expect? It's instead, like, how about we focus? How about we focus on just one amazing plate of spaghetti?
Which I think Jon Favreau does that. What worries
That's
me about
exactly
Filoni,
that's my point. That is my point.
What worries me about Filoni, and this is probably the same point you're already making, but what worries me is not Filoni, it's Filoni's pals. You and your pals, boy. But I think Favreau is very focused. I think Bryce Dallas Howard is very focused. But what's the guy that plays Korg?
Oh, yeah. Gosh,
I always forget.
The Australian dude,
Waititi?
Taika
Waititi. Yeah. He's the extreme of Filoni. So he's on the other end of it. Like, he's just out there, hey, man, let's throw it all. And I worry about that. And I also worry about Filoni getting just, in the tall grass with stuff. But I think the more that Filoni involves Favreau and maybe even brings in some new blood that is able to do it.
Well, see, that's my fear. That is my fear. So 100%, I agree with you. That is exactly where my mind is. Jon Favreau is not only is he got ideas, he's the wrangler. He can say, that's a good idea, that's a shitty idea, that's a dumb idea, don't ever bring that up to me again. Like he can navigate all this stuff because he knows Star Wars. He knows what Star Wars is, and he can fit things within that. Dave Filoni knows Star Wars. He has encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars, but I also think he just can't help himself from being like, but wouldn't it be cool if? Where could we go further? What more could we do? Instead, Dave Filoni is like, Jon Favreau is like, okay, this is Star Wars. What other kinds of things can we do and still be here? And he made he made a Western. He made a Western out of Star Wars. You know,
Yeah.
it's the most Star Wars thing we've had in forever. So yeah, he can wrangle everything in. That's the thing with Jon Favreau. But if this is what we had heard, this was the rumors forever that Dave Filoni was going to be the guy. We had heard that that was going to be the case, and that's now it's now official that they've announced that it's going to be that. So I also feel that probably lends credence to the other things that we had heard, which was Jon Favreau's done. He's got the movie for the Mandalorian, and then he's out.
Yeah.
I think he got yanked around by Kennedy, and you know, Disney sided with Kennedy when they should have sided with the guy that was actually making properties that made money. And I think that Jon Favreau is gone, and without his sort of guiding force and ability to rein in the idea guys, I'm glad to see Kennedy gone, but I am not all that optimistic about Dave Filoni in that chair.
So, you know, and some other pieces of that, and I think we can tie in the Filoni piece too. But so I'm always going to be more of a movies guy when it comes to Star Wars, which is weird because I love TV shows. But you know, the last good Star Wars movie we had was Rogue One, in my opinion. There's a lot of people already saying that this Starfighter movie is going to be able to capture the lightning in the bottle like Rogue One did. And I also love The Mandalorian. I love some stuff that people don't like at all. I loved Obi-Wan Kenobi because I like the stress and the drama, and I love it showing him as a bitter, embattered character, and bringing Anakin back was great for that. So I think it showed a part of the story we needed. I liked Book of Boba Fett. Am I biased because I'm a huge Boba Fett fan? Yes. But I think
am too, which is why I did not like the Book of Boba Fett.
We needed to see the Sarlacc piece. I think we spent too much time in the desert with the Sand People.
I think we spent too much time in the bathtub.
And I didn't like them basically turning it into season 3.5 of The Mandalorian halfway through. But all in all, there was parts of it that I really super enjoyed, and I was able to separate the things that I loved from the parts that I didn't really like. But still, I'm going to be a movie guy through and through. So it worries me too which way the movies, because Filoni seems more of a TV guy as well, and I'm worried. Not for Starfighter. I think that thing's already been laid in stone, and we don't have to worry about it. Which, by the way, apparently it was a solid rumor that Tom Cruise filmed a lightsaber combat scene on the set.
I also saw that today.
So that'll be interesting in the next few months how that goes. But so I'm looking, and maybe he's playing a character that's masked, and he's doing it uncredited like Daniel Craig did with Episode 7 and Prince William and Harry did. So that'll be cool too, either way. But I'm more worried about the movies when it comes to Filoni running the shop.
Well, speaking of movies within the Star Wars universe, I am one of the things that is rumored, not confirmed, but one of the things that is rumored to happen as a result of Kennedy leaving is that the Rey movie is dead, is one of the rumors, which would thrill me to no end. I would love that. I would love to not have that, please. Thank you. But as far as positive, well, I mean, that's positive. Not having that movie is positive. But as far as a positive for movies that are being made, I do, once again, with this not Rogue Squadron. It is Rogue Squadron, right? No,
Starfighter.
Sorry. Yeah, it's the Starfighter movie. Is that Jake? Sorry, not Jake Gyllenhaal. Man, I'm sorry, guys. Long week. Ryan Gosling. I'm thinking of the right person, but it's the wrong name that comes out every time. But Ryan Gosling, he has been. I mean, I can't remember the last bad
movie
choice he made whenever it came to his career. I cannot remember the last time he made a movie and I thought, ugh, man, that's going to hurt. He makes stellar choices. He has nailed it for years. In fact, I just recently watched one with Whitney, The Gray Man. She hadn't seen The Gray Man, so we watched that.
yeah.
I freaking love that one, dude.
Everybody in that was good, though.
Oh, yeah.
They were all good. In fact, Anna de Armas was probably the weakest character in that entire movie. But yeah, dude, I loved Gray Man. I thought the play between Gosling and Chris Evans, and we got to see an old school dickhead Chris Evans, almost like an extreme steroid version of his Scotty Pilgrim Saves the World role, but still.
Yeah, so the fact that Ryan Gosling read the script, wanted to do it, and he's attached to it, that gives me hope that there's something there with that one.
Yeah.
The fact that Ryan Gosling said, I'm doing it. Much like, Denzel Washington was one of those guys for me where it's like, okay, even if whatever movie he's doing, if I read the synopsis or the whatever about it and it didn't sound like it would be something that I'd be interested in, the fact that Denzel was doing it, I was like, I'm going to watch this movie because if he agreed to do this, that means there's probably something in there that is making this worthwhile. And so Ryan Gosling's one of those guys for me too. So I do have some hope for that one. And then of course having this rumor about a Tom Cruise duel, I mean, that just helps. So I'm feeling more encouraged about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually looking forward to it. There was back in the day when the expanded universe was still the expanded universe, there was a whole set of spinoff books literally called Rogue Squadron that followed Wedge Antilles and Tycho Kelshu right after Luke left Rogue Squadron to go set up the Jedi Academy on Yavin. And those are some of my favorite books. Michael Stackpole wrote quite a bit of them. I think Kevin Anderson had some contribution there. But those were outstanding books that were basically, they read like fighter jocks, man. The whole, it was like Top Gun in Star Wars. It was excellent. So anyway.
Yeah, looking forward to that. What else you got on your list?
From movie standpoint, I saw Anaconda.
I had heard bad things about this movie, but then you did not share those sentiments, so I am curious.
I am telling you right now. So first off, let it be said that I've seen the original, and I call the original with J-Lo and Ice Cube.
But that's just that makes it sound like this movie is a remake, which it's
not. So, but I want to say, because my son went to see it and he's never seen the original. I was like, what? How can you go see it and not see the original? Because it still plays off of a lot of the stuff from the original. I just think it's one of those things. Plus, I think Anaconda is one of the greatest B movies made to look like AAA that you'll probably ever see.
I honestly feel like, but to the best of my recollection, it might have been one of the first, like, A-list B movies.
Yes, yeah, because it had A-list actors in it at the time. They all were. Jon Voight, maybe the worst one of them was Eric Stoltz, but Jon Voight, J-Lo, Ice Cube. So, going into this one, I'm gonna tell you right now without spoiling this. This is a tale of four friends that grew up in Buffalo, and they got divided for life, right? And we don't know the reasons they got divided at the beginning of the movie, but they become blatantly obvious as the movie plays out, and they come to light in comedic sense. And I love Steve Zahn. I always have. I mean, he was... Which
I have not seen him do anything in a long, long time.
I think of the movie Sahara, which he had me on the floor laughing, which was a heist movie. But
I'll never forgive Hollywood for not giving us a sequel, by the way.
Right? But he had me on the floor laughing in that. And then you had, Newton, not a typical role for her, but you can tell watching it that she had... Yes. You can tell she had an absolute blast filming this movie. You can tell they all did. But for a role that wasn't typically her, she nailed it. And then Paul Rudd and Jack Black, it makes me wish they had been in more movies together, because their comedic bounce was I mean, I bet half the lines in that movie are improvised. I'd bet money on it.
Well, since Paul Rudd, as we know, stopped aging years ago, maybe we can.
He's
maybe
on the
we can
Keanu
get
Reeves
more
drugs.
yeah. You know, whatever they got going on.
And I mean, Jack Black was just. I mean, I'm going to use your word. He was phenomenal in this movie and so funny. And Paul Rudd and Tandy Newton together was gold, dude. The whole movie was. I mean, it was gold.
I guess we should.
And
say
it's one of
that
those too. It's a coming of age thing too. Like I think you'll enjoy it just simply from a lot of the things that their life situations and events that are occurring are things we're going through, right? So it was that part of it was outstanding.
I have not seen it yet, but I it should be said that without spoiling obviously the actual story that you're going to care about. The reason that it's not a sequel or a remake is because it is basically Tropic Thunder. It is a movie about making a movie and the insanity around that becomes the movie. Yeah,
and Paul Rudd brings some of his classic, his classic, well, I didn't. Okay, so I didn't actually, that kind of stuff. And it drives Jack Black up the wall. And, Steve Zahn's, he's the character that's just there for the ride, which is hilarious because he comes out. And then there's some ancillary characters that end up having absolutely just mint line deliveries, man, where you're just like, oh, my God, what? So, yeah, it was good.
A question, do they keep up with some of the other one of the other things that's kind of expected whenever you have one of these zany kind of comedies like we had with, why is it not coming to mind that I just said the movie that is
Tropic
Thunder and that kind of stuff, where, and especially when it's star-studded, do we also have some crazy like A-list cameos that you would not expect?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good.
And, so they're heading down to the Brazilian jungle, and this is all in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything here, to make this movie. And I was just assuming they were going to it was going to be a crappy looking snake because they were making a crappy remake, right? Or a revisioning or whatever. The effects on the snake were legit, dude. So that was kind of a shocker. So anyway, yeah, great movie. You should see it. Absolutely.
I'll have to check it out. I saw it, like I'd heard bad things, but a lot of times these movies, because so many times I do not side with critics. I mean, I watch content creators that I align with whenever I want to know if a movie's good or something like that.
Yeah.
Word of mouth from friends. I never care. I mean, as far as it being a news story, we can talk about a news story about something not being liked by, the critics or whatever. But in large part, I don't care what the critics say because I'm always so misaligned from their perspectives anyway and what they like. And comedies are notoriously, lampooned by these critics. They hated Tropic Thunder. Comedies just have such a hard time surviving those. So the fact that I have heard all these awful things doesn't really dissuade me from seeing it.
Good, because you should see it. It's pretty funny. I mean, the start, I expected the start to be a little more, I don't know, get out of the gate earlier. But as it got going, I was like, okay, that needed to be done. So that beginning needed to be the way it was. But other than that, man, it was a good movie. I don't know what to tell you. But I will say this too. I got an extended trailer of a movie coming out that I am super excited about. And I think you probably are too. Another near future sci-fi tech type of movie called Mercy with Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. Where Chris
we
Pratt,
also know your affinity for Rebecca Ferguson.
I love Rebecca Ferguson, but I'm an Anglophile, so it makes sense. But so Chris Pratt plays a police chief in this, and in the trailer, he announces that we've reached an age where AI can be utilized for very many things, And so now when people are arrested for a capital offense, they are placed in a chair and strapped down, and then they have tons of resources through AI. They have 90 minutes to prove their innocence, or they're executed on the spot in that chair. Well, then the trailer goes to black and comes back, and Chris Pratt's in the chair, and his wife's dead. And now he's being tried for the murder of his wife.
So, one thing real quick. I was actually not aware of this movie.
Neither was I yesterday.
Had no idea. So you're like, oh, I bet you're looking forward to it too. I was not aware of it. However, I've got a question that, since I've not seen the trailer and you've already said this, because some things immediately jump out, and maybe it's just because I watch a lot of sci-fi, but you mentioned that you have 90 minutes to prove your innocence. And as I'm sure most people know, 90 minutes is the golden number when it comes to movie length. So, my question to you, based off of what you've seen, are we basically going to be reliving the 90 minutes that Chris Pratt has to prove that he is innocent?
Yeah, I think we're going to get 20 minutes of run up, and then we're going to get a straight, like the show 24, we're going to get a straight 90 minutes of him. And I think that's how they're selling. I think that's how they're billing it. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think once he's on trial, then yes, I think the movie's got 90 minutes left.
Awesome. Okay, I'll have to look at that trailer because I am intrigued.
Yeah.
I am intrigued. I love a good sci-fi.
It was intense, man. So I'm looking forward to that one. But that's all I've got on movies.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else on movies either. So what else you got on your list as we roll on?
Everything else is the elephant in the room on TV. So Stranger Things happened.
I'm so excited for you to be able to lay this out for me.
Stranger Things happened. We got the series finale, of course, on New Year's Eve, which I watched live. I did not get to see it in the theater like some people did. But
who are some people? That sounded pointed.
No, there was a lot of showings at theaters. I know.
We didn't have I just one. It sounded like it was one of those like, oh, unlike some people, it sounded like it was very pointed, like someone had not invited you to their viewing or something like that.
In hindsight, I'm replaying that in my head, and you're right. That's exactly how it sounded. That is not, however,
it's like somebody caught some strays. Jay just performed a drive-by while delivering the news.
Anyway, some people got to watch it in the theater. So anyway. I've had a week. How long have I had? I've had, basically a week and a day to mull over in my head if I liked it or not. It should give you pause right there that I didn't immediately like or dislike it. That should give you some pause right there.
The word that I kept hearing used was underwhelming.
After 8 days, I can with confidence say that it was underwhelming. And at the same time, they pulled a Filoni and they had too much going on. I felt like they went for the Avengers Endgame battle scene, but came out with something else entirely. There was an immersion-breaking scene for me where, and this is only because I've carried an M16 in real life, where Nancy puts a magazine in an M16, and then instead of using the charging handle to load the round, which you don't even have to do really once you're reloading, she used the carrying handle on the top and acted like she was charging that. So that really lost me initially. I felt like it was anticlimactic. I felt like the after everything is resolved with the big bad, that whole scene. Do you remember the Lord of the Rings Return of the King extended edition?
And how it ended 5 times?
I was going to say how it had 6 endings. Like it would fade to black, and then here comes another ending, and it would fade to black, and here comes another. We got the same thing with this. It did sew up everything. It didn't leave any open doors, but it wasn't satisfying. The penultimate episode was more satisfying. Those two or three episodes were more satisfying than the finale, I feel. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, okay, so now in this, and obviously this was a sentiment shared by seems like the overwhelming majority of all viewers. And this, obviously, whenever you have a series that has gone on as long as it has, even though it's only 5 seasons, we're talking a span of a lot of years. It took them many years between seasons and stuff like that. So we have that, and anytime you have something, so we've had the Game of Thrones and so many of these things that fail to live up to the expectations that we have set in our own heads. However, very few of them have warranted what happened here. Now, this is the part where I'm glad that you are here to lay this out for me, because I didn't read any articles about it because I haven't gotten to the finale yet. I haven't watched the last season yet, and all the articles about this phenomenon contain spoilers. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to view it. So, Conformity Gate. I want you to try to explain what's going on here, and also, why is it called Conformity Gate?
Okay, so I have no idea why it's called Conformity Gate.
Okay.
That part I don't know, but I got to go 2 different angles on why and how. So I think there was a sizable amount of the community that, like what you just said, found it underwhelming to the point that they thought there's no way this is the end and the Duffer Brothers are screwing with us, and there's an additional episode. And then somebody
They're going to
pieced
end Night
together-
Shyamalan this thing.
Yeah, somebody pieced together a very convincing Netflix trailer with Netflix branding. Had the end went like that. It was like ba-boom, and then they started the Stranger Things kind of music with the mind flayer and that whole bit. And then, yeah, and we're going to get an alternate ending. The Duffer Brothers had planned this for years, and of course they hadn't. And then I start seeing the memes of Ferris Bueller, where at the end of Ferris Bueller, where he like is going into the bathroom and then he backs out and he looks at the camera in a fourth wall break and walks. He's like, "What are you still doing here? It's over. Go home." And he turns around and walks off. Not once did I believe that this was an actual thing. If I'd have came home and turned on and found out it was an actual thing, I was like, okay, I was wrong. But I was not. And
I should say that I do know that it was that the theory, whatever evidence they were using to substantiate it, was that next episode would drop on January 7th.
Right.
Again, at the time of recording, it is January 8th.
Yes.
No episode.
Correct. There was also a lot of inconsistencies in the way and I don't want to spoil it for you. So there was a lot of inconsistencies in the way characters looked in those ending segments versus how they looked towards the end of the main portion of the finale. And it made people start thinking, there was people saying, and even I was one of these, the whole thing was a D&D campaign, which I still think it is. And I'll get to my point on why I think that is once you've seen it, if we want to discuss it further. But
oh, for sure.
A lot of those were valid, and I think that's what gave steam to the idea of Conformity Gate. And I think the whole Conformity Gate thing, just for me, I didn't really look it up, but is that the Duffer Brothers did not want to conform to the typical series ending and wanted to have an alternate ending just to fool everybody. And I don't think that's what they wanted to do at all. I think they were done telling their story.
Well, what did I did find funny is that while I don't know all the substantiating things and stuff that people were using as evidence of this hidden episode, this secret ending that we were going to actually get that would really tie it up and actually be satisfactory. Pardon me while I keep my cat from jumping on the desk here. Once we got to January 7th, and obviously it didn't happen, and then I saw other headlines that were like, well, it's going to happen January 9th. Now they're saying it's January 9th or something else. And I'm like, this feels like all those people that predict the end of the world, and they're like, it's going to happen on this date. And then, of course, we're all still here. World doesn't end. And they're like, well, okay, well, so what happened? God came to me in a dream, and so I actually, I didn't carry the one, and so I didn't realize, obviously there was a leap year, And so if you do that, plus carry the 4, they just come up with these weird things. They're like, well, now it's this time, so continue to send money. And that's what it really feels like. We're like, well, now we're going to move the goalpost, and we're still going to justify it. So what was that guy? The one that was really funny just like a few months ago. Was it Brother Joshua? Was that his name, Brother Joshua? And that whole insanity for the end of the world stuff. But yeah, that's what it's really starting to sound like. They're starting to sound like these end of the world people where they just keep moving the goalposts. So come tomorrow and there's no dropping again. They'll be like, oh, here it is, guys, the new one.
Yeah, everybody thought for sure we were ending on when the Aztec calendar ended in 2012. And then John Cusack made a movie about it, which was good, I thought. And but of course, it did not end just because the calendar ran out.
I will throw in one thing here real quick because I'm in this mode right now. Give you a little bit of a break from just having to read from your list, and I'm curious if you've seen this or whatever. So speaking of dates, 11/22/63.
The Kennedy assassination.
Yes, it's also the name of a show.
Stephen. Yeah,
and book Stephen King. A show that came out in 2016 that I never got a chance to watch, and I remember being like, "Oh, that's intriguing."
Did you get to watch it?
And I never watched it. I'm watching it right now. I'm currently in a watch because it released on Netflix. So now it's on Netflix, and that brought up. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I wanted to watch that a long time ago. I never got a chance to." So I am currently in that. And while I have said that I hate Stephen King's writing, it's his writing style. He has really great ideas. There are a lot of movies and shows that are based off of these concepts that he has that I really enjoy because I like the ideas. I just hate his writing style. And for reasons we've gone into, we can do it again another day. We don't need to do it today. But so I am watching 11/22/63, and I am loving it. I am absorbed into this thing. It is so good so far, and I know it's a limited series. It's just one season done thing. But yeah, I assume. Have you seen it, or at least
I have?
You have.
I've read the book and seen it, and both of them were good. I like the show was excellent, man. I thought was James Franco, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's perfect in it as a super flawed guy, and the fact that what a premise putting a time portal. Was it in a diner or like a
It was in the
store?
closet in the back of a diner.
Yeah. What a great idea, man. Like who would think of that other than Stephen King? Hey, man, I'm just going to make a gas station and put a time portal in the toilet in the men's bathroom, kind of thing.
This is, again, I'm like maybe 3 episodes in. I don't know how many episodes there are. I'm assuming 8 or 10. That's the kind of the standard when it comes to these limited series. But I'm only a few episodes in, but it's really getting good. He's now gotten his accomplice. He's now got this other guy that's going to be working with him, and they're doing this stuff. But obviously, we love the conspiracy theories and all that stuff. We love the Kennedy assassination and all of the stuff going on around that. So this is one where I really love that it's kind of going into, and it's going into a lot of aspects of things that I didn't know about the Kennedy assassination and things that happened before it, and these sort of deeper aspects of it, and it kind of goes into it. And I'm really enjoying this thing about, obviously it's going to be Stephen King's kind of theory about how this comes together, but it also, I guess, in true Stephen King fashion as well, it has some even more out there sort of aspects where obviously time travel is a very sci-fi out there concept, but it also has this sort of concept of time resisting change, and that I think is really intriguing, where it's like, well, time does not want to be changed. It will actively resist you making an effort to change it. And we've seen hints and things and stuff that are happening in that so far, but we haven't got to see the full impact of that I think that will likely come at the end of it. I just haven't gotten there. But it's really interesting, and it also has something where, and I'm sure this is a thing that will be thought out. It seems like this is a very well thought out piece, because one of the things that time travel is one of the things that I love and I'm fascinated by, and I love it whenever a movie does it. But as we've said before, one of the fatal flaws of so many time travel movies is that it doesn't follow its own rules. But so far, that's not the case here. It's in fact, it's establishing some new rules that I'm not seen before. I'm not used to seeing. Those being something like, so we have this portal. It's not a time machine. It is simply a tear in time, where you walk into this closet and you go far enough back, and eventually you just pop out the other side. And when you pop out the other side, you are at the same moment every time. You can spend as much time as you want there, and if you come back through, 2 minutes will have gone by in the real world. It will be like you just walked into the closet to grab something and came out. So every time you go back there, you have no control over when you're coming out. You will come out at the exact same moment. And the other thing that I think was really interesting that they did with this piece is one of the things that in the first episode that he has James Franco's character do to prove that he's not crazy, that he's not lying, is, hey, and that you can, in fact, create change, is he gives him a pocket knife and he tells him to go back and carve something in the tree that is next to where they currently are, which is another thing. Whenever you pop out through this portal, you are in that spot in 1960. Right. And so he goes and he carves something in this tree, comes back through, then goes back out to that tree in real time, and you see the initials that he's carved into it. But the thing that is the twist that we have not seen previously is the guy tells him, well, next time you go through, it resets everything. Everything that you just did is no longer done.
So he's going back to the same time every time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's the piece that I've never seen them do before, where it's like, basically they're saying, like, if you go and you change something, you can never go back. You can never do it again, because if you do, it undoes everything that you did. So obviously what they're trying to do, the whole point of this show, is they are trying to stop Kennedy's assassination. And again, you come out in 1960. Kennedy was assassinated in 63. So in order to stop Kennedy's assassination, depending on how you choose to do it, you could be in there for years in 1960. And I love the world building that they've done, where they think about these things. Okay, well, if I'm going to be there for years, how do I survive? How do I make how do I exist for
I gotta
years?
work. I gotta find a job.
Yeah, how am I going to make that happen? How am I going to make money? How am I going to do all this? They thought of all that, and it's very well done. The world building is spectacular. So yeah, I am loving it so far. Again, obviously, we are 10 years removed from this thing, and I'm just now getting to see it. But it is so much fun, and it seems like a very detail-oriented approach to it. And like I said, and introducing, I've seen so many time travel movies, TV shows, books, and this is still introducing some things that I had not seen before, like the resetting if you go back and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you're watching it. That's a really good series. And again, the cast was good. I don't know all of them, but a lot of them I'd seen in other things, parts. And other things.
In fact, I think it was episode 2. Maybe there was a guy that comes out, and I was like, "Is that?" And then you see him in a distance, and it was Josh Duhamel. And so there's so many people and some of them were not a big deal then, that are a pretty big deal now. So it's always fun whenever you go and you get to see one of these, something that's been around for a while, but you're seeing it for the first time. And then you get to do that thing where it's like, wait a minute, that guy is, here now. And to see how far they've come. It was like whenever I watched and by no means, if you haven't seen it, don't. The Ghost Rider sequel that they did.
Oh God.
Yeah. But
which one?
They only did one Ghost Rider sequel in the movies. It was
one with Idris Elba.
That's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was the thing where I remember starting that, and I was like, "Oh, that's Idris Elba." He's in there. Like that's crazy to see him, and now, obviously now he's Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, dude, yeah,
so-
he's a megastar.
So yeah, and again, if you have not seen that sequence, don't see it. Don't watch it. It's bad. It's
Yeah,
bad.
it's not good.
In fact, the entire opening sequence is dedicated to retconning the movie that it is a sequel to. Where they like, hey, all the stuff. So I watched it back to back. I saw, I wanted to watch the original Ghost Rider again, and then I'm like, hey, you know what? I never saw this one. Why don't I watch that? And so I watched them back to back, and the entire opening sequence of the Ghost Rider sequel is telling you the thing that you just watched. You didn't see that. That's not how it happened. This is actually how it.
Yeah.
It was the dumbest. Oh gosh, it was bad. So yeah,
Highlander 2 did the same thing, man. They retconned the whole first movie by saying that all the Highlanders come from the planet Geest, and it was some weird shit. And it's funny that the Highlander motto is there can be only one, because most of the fandom is like, same thing with the movies. There can be
Yeah.
only one. But yeah, weird stuff, dude. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad you're watching that.
So yeah, we can talk more about that later and compare notes on that again. But that's just one that just hit Netflix. I just started watching it 10 years later, and I am sucked in. I'm hooked.
So I only had one thing left, and it's behind me on my screen. So this is our miscellaneous category that's going to end up looping back to games that I
It's
hopefully
the
will bring
teaser
up
that's been in
another
front of their face the whole time.
another whole conversation. So, as discussed on a few of the episodes, I'm a huge Magic the Gathering player as far as enjoying building decks and playing cards. And this year they did, or this past year, they released a Final Fantasy set, which I thought was cool. It had characters and locations that we've all played in the games. But then I don't know, the kids call it doom scrolling, I guess. I was doom scrolling TikTok, and I got in an algorithm, people bringing up the games because of playing Magic, bringing up the video games. So this category loops back to games because it has nothing to do with the card games, other than it's the card game community that started this war, and it's a two-pronged war of what's your favorite Final Fantasy. And the other part of that, well, I'll get to the other part of that war again. So, the whole time I'm going through like Reddit and Instagram and looking up these, and TikTok, looking up these, what's your favorite Final Fantasy and why, and you go to the comments section and it turns bloody, and I mean fast. And I've always been a fan of don't judge people for what they play or what they like and don't like, and they're entitled to like whatever they do. And my whole time, dude, in my head, I'm going, my favorite phrase, don't feed the bears. Don't feed the bears. Well, anyway, I got on one video and I was the first commenter. He's like, hey, what's your favorite Final Fantasy and why? And this isn't feeding the bears. I put in Final Fantasy VIII, and I liked it because it was the first one with kind of a sci-fi setting, and you're part of a mercenary group. And at the time in my life, that kind of appealed to me. And you're trying to stop a cataclysm in the world, and which is common with a lot of the Final Fantasies. But I like the characters better. I loved my airship in that one. I love the fact that his gigantic, ridiculous sword, like all Final Fantasy characters have, also was a gun. So it was like a gun saber, like Dooku, which I thought was cool. I thought his
Get to spin the chamber.
I liked all the characters, and that's what I put. And dude, it wasn't 3 minutes. And
Little did you know you were chumming the waters.
There was I guess so. And people were tearing me. They're like, how is 4 not your favorite? How's 6 not your favorite? Dude, you didn't even bring up 7. Well, no, he asked me a very pointed question to which I gave an answer. And that's, if I'd have said anything else, it would have been 10. And then when I said that literally went through the roof. And I'm like, okay, now that I've started this shit, I'm out. I'm going to bed.
It's like you lit the match, dropped it, and then you're like, and I'm out, guys, later.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean this is my thing, and I'll die on the hill that I think Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite story. Is it my favorite one to play? No, because 10 came out, and 10 became my favorite one to play, but I still like the story the best in 8. But that doesn't mean I don't like 6. which is widely considered one of the better ones of all time. It doesn't mean I don't like 4 or 7, although 7 is not in my top 3 after playing 16.
Yeah,
And
this is bean
Yeah.
soup theory. Is I think what I have heard it referred to as, and I think it does great because it's one of those things where, name that because an Instagram reel going over the recipe for a bean soup and the compulsion of so many people to come on there and be like, but I don't like bean soup. Then don't eat bean soup.
yeah,
Then it's not for you. Then
Yeah.
then don't try this recipe if you don't like bean soup. But not everything is about you. So some people do
Right.
like bean soup and they might enjoy this recipe. So it's one of those things where somebody reads your comment and you say, "Hey, Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite Final Fantasy." And then so somebody reads that and they think, "But what about me? That's not my favorite Final Fantasy. My favorite Final Fantasy is this one. So why didn't you want that one?" Well, it's like, okay,
Right.
well, then you can have that, and you can say it's your favorite one, but just because somebody doesn't feel the same way doesn't mean that you are diametrically at odds. This is not a villain arc, This is just opinions, man. Like, there's no reason it has to be this serious.
Yeah, and once you get to the point where my comment becomes, "All right, guys, I don't give a shit," and I'm out. So I was out.
You should have just gone to each person where they're like, "No, Final Fantasy IV is the best. No, Final Fantasy VII is the best. No, Final Fantasy XII is the best." You should have just gone to each one of them and be like, "You know what? I say you're right." Go to the next one. No, you're right. And that's what you're right. And just all of them. All of those are all the best one. You're correct. You have shown me the way.
I did contemplate saying this Final Fantasy is my favorite Final Fantasy on the Citadel. But so then I found the
A Mass
other
Effect
prong of
reference
this.
for those who might have missed it.
Yeah. So there was another guy did a video and he was talking about his favorite summons. And most Final Fantasies have the same collection of summons.
At least a core.
What apparently cannot be agreed upon is how to pronounce the summons names and then by extension the character names. So what got
Because
this ball
especially
rolling?
back in the originals, like it was all text. It was just text. There was no audio. There was no voiceover. So
Yeah,
like
right.
a book. It's like a book. You never you read it, but you never actually hear it said.
Yeah. So this guy, obviously, and the funny thing was, to be fair, as soon as he said it, I was like, "Oh, that's not how you say that." So he was like, "So when I summoned Bahamut," and I was like, "Oh, dude, come on, it's Bahamut, right?" So then everybody was putting out phonetics all the way down the comment. No, this
I was
is it.
going to ask, how do you argue over text about how
Right.
something is pronounced out loud?
Which, by the way, that's the comment I made. We are currently arguing about pronunciation via text. That's the definition of insanity. But then it was it's Ifrit. No, it's a freet, and they would write EF-REET. It's a freet, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then
I'm
it
gonna
was
say
Titus.
Ifrit has if I was to use like a wine tasting term, that's got a
Yes.
very bad mouthfeel. I don't like the way Ifrit sounds when it
Yes.
comes through my mouth.
Yeah,
Wow,
and then
don't clip that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're clipping it, but so the last one I'll do before we get done, and this was my favorite one. So 10, and I told you before the show started, if there was a Final Fantasy for me that got as close to 8 as 8 is, it would be 10. And the titular character in Final
Titular?
Fantasy 10 is Titus, and people they're like, "No, it's Titus." And then there was Titus, and then there was Tidus, and they're like, "It has to be Tidus." You could tell they were going for a Latin reference. No, they weren't. But dude, it's funny how a card game started a video game war, starting a pronunciation war. So I was literally just astounded by the jumps and the evolutions that people make to get to and I'm just like, wow, this is nuts. I've got to go to bed. Where's the Tylenol?
And now
So-
everybody is hooked on phonics.
Yeah, right? So anyway, yeah, I'm going to die on the hill, but hot take, Final Fantasy VIII's my favorite one.
So I actually don't really have any ground to make an argument on any of it, because growing up, I watched my brother play the Final Fantasy games. I enjoyed the stories of the Final Fantasy games,
Yeah.
but I didn't understand the combat system. It was so, I mean,
Oh, it was
literally
turn-based.
foreign to everything that I was familiar with, which makes sense. It was a JRPG. They had this whole way, and I just didn't understand how it worked. The first RPG I played, thanks to my brother, was KOTOR. And so that was my entry into RPGs and started my love of RPGs. But prior to that, I just watched him play the Final Fantasy games, and I enjoyed the stories. But I don't remember all the stories that I saw. I saw him play so many. There's the one with Blitzball and all this. I remember seeing all of these, but I never played them. So the only Final Fantasy that I've ever really played to completion was the Final Fantasy VII remake, and then I've started the other one, the more recent, like medieval one. Is that 15 or
16?
16? I've started playing that one.
15 was a road trip with 4 guys in a car. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the one, and everybody hated it.
And it's also good, but it's
But it wasn't
It
the
was
thing
weird.
that you, even though you were in a car, you didn't really get to steer it or something. It was like basically like on rails.
yeah, it was mostly on rails. That's correct. You kind of got to do, you could coax it, because there were forks in the road.
You could nudge it to go
Yeah.
over a little bit.
Yeah. So that was all you could do. But yeah, 16 was the very dark medieval one.
And so I've not finished it. I'm just very early on, but I'm enjoying that one so far. But those are the only two I've really ever played.
And again, man, that's fine. That was another thing that would come up. It's like, I can't believe you're saying this is your favorite and you've only played 3 of them.
It's like, well,
Well,
my favorite's gonna have to be one of those 3.
I've got a field of study of 3 titles, and this is my favorite one. Shut the F up, right?
Yeah.
So, mind-blowing, man.
Yeah, and we see a lot of this in our own comments. Like if we, to our videos, the content that we
Yeah.
put out, we'll see a lot of this where, people will just go in there. It blows my mind. I just can't put myself in that frame of mind where I would feel upset at someone enjoying something differently than me. I don't know. It's so weird. It's just odd.
Yeah.
Where it's like we've said, like we'll make jokes and talk about stuff that we hate and don't like, and movies that we think suck. But if you don't think the movie sucks, good. That's good. Great. I'm happy that you enjoyed the movie. I wish I did. If I think a movie sucks and you love the movie, I am jealous of you. I wish I hadn't wasted time on that movie or that game or whatever. So I'm not upset with you for liking a movie or liking a game that I don't like. But there are some people that get like straight up militant about how dare you find value in this bean soup that I don't care for.
I mean, it's just, we could end the show and I could go real quick on our way out. Hudson Hawk's the worst movie of all time. And then tomorrow, we'd probably have a litany of comments where people are like, dude, how can you even say that? Bruce Willis, it was one of
This
his
show is
roles.
dead to me.
Yeah. And you're just like, come on, man. Hudson Hawk is the worst movie of all time. But anyway.
I also do one of the things, speaking of that also reminds me where like one of the comments that we got one time whenever we were talking about Assassin's Creed, which I remember whenever we waded into those waters, did not realize initially how contentious they would be. And
man.
turns out there's some people that really, really love the RPGification of Assassin's Creed. But there was a comment that was basically, though, it was letting me express their disagreement, and then it said, this was easy, do not recommend channel. Like, okay, like, why did you feel the need to inform anybody? I don't.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna call Jay and like, Jay, oh no, we just lost, Big Max Chungus, he said he's not going to watch us anymore. You know, like, oh no, what are we going to do? Let's call it in, you know? We got to
That's
end
like-
it before we even get to 52.
When I see videos on YouTube that are titled, I played such and such so you don't have to. And I'm like, and then I'll watch the video and go, dude, I'm totally going to try that out.
Me too. I have seen some stuff where they're like going to things like I have seen people like talking trash about a movie, and I'm like, I'll stop it because I'm like, everything I've seen so far looks pretty cool, and I don't want you to spoil anything for me. So like, I'm gonna go.
Top 10 reasons you should not see this movie. You know, and you're just like, those are all cool things to me. So I'm going to go see that.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is one thing that we don't do is we don't do clickbait. If I sometimes I'll try different like title things, but I want to make sure that we pay off whatever I'm saying in the title of our thing. I never want to like do something and like put something where it's like, you won't believe this one trick to save Assassin's Creed or whatever, you know, whatever bullshit, clickbaity insanity. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to be the channel. I don't want that to be the way that we grow or get views or anything like that. But one thing that I have seen as well that again I will not do to you guys. Thank you so much for you know joining us and hanging with us and talking with us because you enjoy the conversations. But I've seen people that will title a video in a certain way and they'll have like you know exclamation point like a whole bunch of exclamation points, but it'll be like exclamation point number 1 exclamation point, which you know, it'd be like, oh, they let go of shift on one of those exclamation points, and so it was the number 1. But they do it on all of their videos. So what they're doing is they're trying to get somebody that's like scrolling through, and they're trying to get like a grammar Nazi. So they'll see the 1 in the midst of these exclamation points, so that they'll click on the video, go to the comments, and say, hey, you missed an exclamation point.
Yeah.
I have seen people, I've seen a lot of people actually that do this, and they'll do it every single upload just to get a click and a comment out of somebody. And we won't do that to you, but I don't know. Some of that stuff, I don't even know how I got on that, but some of that stuff just drives me crazy.
Well, man, you're right, because I see spelling errors all the time, and I'm like, okay, if you had one spelling error in your video, I get it, but if I go to your channel and every single title has a spelling error, you're going after the OCD crowd.
Yeah. Oh, and I've also, speaking of you talking about pronunciation, another one is they will intentionally mispronounce something because they know that people will get in the comments. And just like you said, they will have that battle and they'll just watch it burn, and all they care about is they're getting engagement.
Me and the girlfriend flew to Fiji this weekend. We had a great time.
Yeah, and then somebody's
dude,
like, oh my
Fiji.
God, they don't know. And then
Oh, man. Well, anyway, man, that's all I had tonight.
Yeah, well, that's all I've got as well. Yeah, it was a crazy week. We definitely got more out of the news that we caught. Thank you so much as well, Jay, for keeping your ear to the ground and bringing some of this to me, because yeah, a lot of it was new to me because I was out of the loop. So thank you for that. But yeah, it was a fun show. Thank you,
pleasure,
everybody. Man. And yeah, I don't know. In closing, yeah, watch out for the flu. It'll get you this year.
Yes, it will. And that RSV, whatever that is.
Oh, that's a thing. For adults, it usually ends up being a cold, but whenever a kid gets it, for a little kid, it's bad news. Bad news bears. It's not fun no matter what, but it's really bad if a kid gets it.
Absolutely.
But all
well,
right.
Everybody have a good week.
See you guys next time.
I must leave you adieu.